Will you please stand for the presentation of the colors? Advance the colors, please.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the University of Findlay, we welcome you to our annual Veterans Day observance. My name is Nicole Berge, the president of the Alumni Board of Governors. We are grateful to have so many here with us today, including University of Findlay faculty, staff, and students, as well as Findlay veterans and their families. It is definitely an honor to recognize all those who are currently serving and who have served our country. The Veterans Wall was gifted for the university on behalf of the class of 1966 as their 50th anniversary gift from graduation from Findlay College. This honor wall is a living tribute that serves as a constant reminder on our campus of the many sacrifices that our servicemen and women make to give us the freedoms we enjoy today. We are honored to call these veterans Oilers. Today and every day, we thank these and all veterans for their service and for the many sacrifices they make on behalf of our great country. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Tom Ramge, leader of the Boy Scouts troop of 319 from Findlay, for bringing these scouts as color guard today and posting the colors for our ceremony. I'd also like to recognize all University of Findlay Alumni Board of Governors, Dr. Marcia Latta, Vice President of University Advancement, the staff of University Advancement, students Josh Kilgore, Jack Yater, Mikayla Holtz, and our keynote speaker, Ryan Odendahl, class of 1997 and 2000, for their participation in today's program. Thank you. Immediately following our program, we will begin the reading of over 700 names on our Veterans Wall. Therefore, if your schedule allows, please stay and join us for that special tribute. We have a wonderful program today, and we hope you find this event honoring and remembering our veterans to be a special tribute. I would now like to invite forward Josh Kilgore, a senior with the College of Business and Campus Ministries member. He is also the proud recipient of the President's Scholarship. He will come to the podium to give our invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, thank you for this day and the blessing of our university and the great alumni and supporters that we have. Today, we are here to honor those that have served our country and given their lives so that we may stand here and still live in freedom. Father, I do not understand what these servicemen and women have gone through, but I do know that you call us to love our neighbor, and these men and women have done so. Father, thank you for the day. I also pray, Father, that today is not the only day we remember our veterans, active servicemen and women, and those who have lost their lives to protect our freedoms. I ask that you remind the citizens of this country to never forget and always appreciate, respect, and honor those who have made the decision to fight for this country. We thank you for all that you have done in our lives and for this university. We also thank you for your grace and the promise of eternity with you. In Jesus' name, amen. For those who are able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to introduce Jack Yater. Jack will be performing the National Anthem for us. Please remain standing. Jack is a fifth-year senior from Cary, Ohio, and is studying theater performance. Please welcome Jack.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please post the colors.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcia Latta. I serve as Vice President for Advancement. We're very pleased and honored that you're here with us today. At this time, I'm very proud to welcome back one of our own, Ryan Odendahl, class of 1997 and 2000. Ryan was raised in Perrysburg, Ohio, followed in his father's and brother's footsteps into the Marine Corps, where he served as an infantry small arms specialist. By the way, I'd like to mention that today is the 247th anniversary of the founding of the U.S. Marines. So, Ryan was appointed to the instructor staff with the Weapons Company, 1st Battalion, 24th Marine Regiment, during which time he was named the regiment's Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. After 8 years of service, Ryan came to the University of Findlay, earning a Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental and Hazardous Materials Management, and then went on to complete his MBA. Currently, Ryan is the president of Quest Group, a 100% employee-owned civil construction firm partnering with clients in the energy, rail, industrial, photochemical, defense, petrochemical, and public and private infrastructure markets. In addition to upholding its core values of safety, quality, and customer service, Quest Group prioritizes its team members who have made them a leader in their industry. And I am sure all those fine things you learned right here at Findlay. Ryan has both seen and demonstrated how military behaviors and customs transfer seamlessly into business. And for this reason, Quest Group has proudly increased the representation of veterans in all areas of their organization. For the last 3 consecutive years, the U.S. Department of Labor has recognized Quest Group as a Platinum HIRE Hire Vets Medallion Award recipient for their unparalleled commitment to attract, retain, and advance veterans. Congratulations. In addition, the Ohio Department of Development has designated the company as a veteran-friendly business enterprise. Ryan lives in Wood County with his wife of 25 years, Andrea, and we're so pleased you were able to join us here today. They're proud parents of 2 sons, Spencer, who is continuing the tradition, currently serving in the Marine Corps, and Oliver, who is a senior at Otsego High School. Please join me in giving a very warm Oiler welcome to Ryan.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to join you for this Veterans Day celebration. I'm honored to be here with you today. It's such a beautiful day out there. I had about an hour's worth of comments, but I think I'm going to cut them down to about 10 minutes so we can get out and see the sun. A special thank you to everyone who participated in the ceremony. To the Boy Scouts of Troop 319, great job in presenting the colors. My wife and I are parents of 2 Eagle Scouts that we're very proud of. It's a great program, and it's great to see your participation today. I'd like everyone to take a moment and recognize the folks that were involved in the ceremony, please. As Marcia mentioned, today is the 247th birthday of the United States Marine Corps, our beloved Corps. Happy birthday to all Marines in attendance, as well as to my father, brother, and good friend Tom Brown, a Findlay native and Vietnam veteran, who are all with us virtually today. Also, a very special happy Marine Corps birthday to my son, Corporal Spencer Odendahl, who's currently serving on active duty overseas. His mom and my wife, Andrea, is here with me today. I'm extremely thankful for my time at the University of Findlay. As a veteran, I was immediately directed to the Office of Adult and Continuing Education for registration and admission. I'll never forget the support that was provided as I transitioned into the role of a part-time student, which was a little overwhelming, a little intimidating, and totally different from 8 years in the Marine Corps. From registration for classes to assistance with GI Bill benefits, they provided much-needed assistance at every level. It's not a surprise to me that the University of Findlay remains a top choice for veteran students. We're all gathered here today because we know that our veterans deserve our honor and support. We as a nation do a great job of supporting our military men and women while they're in uniform. But today I'd like to spend a few minutes discussing how we can best support them when they transition out of military service and back into the civilian sector. According to the Department of Defense, roughly 200,000 veterans transition every year from uniformed service. This can be a trying time, which often involves relocating from their last duty station back to their hometown or other location. This may also involve moving with or reconnecting with a spouse or children. To be clear, no one enters the military to become independently wealthy. It just doesn't happen. But the loss of income while transitioning back to civilian life often doesn't allow veterans much time to locate and evaluate their next career opportunity. Veterans are often unsure how their military experience translates to civilian sector employment or higher education. In fact, USO research shows that many veterans not only struggle to find employment after leaving the military, but that 1/3 experience underemployment. 1 in 3 veterans experience underemployment when leaving the military. I currently serve as president of Quest Group, an employee-owned construction firm. We strive to maintain a workforce with strong veteran representation because we've seen the impact that they've made in our organization, and I know other organizations have seen this as well. To aid in this discussion, I spoke with several veteran friends and team members to provide their insight, as each has a unique experience with the common bond of military service. I'd like to share some of the responses with you today. How can a veteran employee bring value to a business or organization? I asked this question to Doug Dariano, a great friend and retired Navy captain. Doug served for over 33 years, to include a deployment to Iraq in 2007, and is currently retired and serving as a commissioner for the Wood County Veteran Service Commission. His response, like only Doug could tell me, is that a veteran immediately brings 3 strengths to an organization. Number 1, and very simply, they'll be on time. After 8 years in the Marine Corps, I can guarantee they will know how to be on time. Secondly, they'll know how to work as part of a team for a larger goal. And finally, they'll understand how to lead themselves and others, and just as importantly, they'll understand how to be led. I'd like to thank Doug and his wife Karen for being here with us today. Thank you. I also received some great responses to this question from my teammates at Quest. A Navy veteran said that veterans know how to conduct themselves in a professional manner, are detail-oriented, and can handle stressful situations. An Army veteran replied that veterans will think of a million different ways to complete a task. He added that even if they're not in a leadership position, they will push and strive to make their leader and their team succeed. To gain better insight into my fellow veterans' experiences, I asked them what was the hardest part of transitioning to civilian life for each of you. One Air Force veteran stated that it was losing the network and brotherhood he worked with every day as he transitioned to the unknown at a new company. He had no idea what anyone's rank or seniority was because in the military, we all wore them on our uniforms, either our collars or our sleeves. Most notable about his response is when he said that members of the military are driven to be part of an elite group, tasked to fight for our nation's freedom. The moment they re-enter civilian life, that all changes. Veterans need to find a new drive and create or become part of a different team and support system. A Marine Corps veteran said that the command structure was the hardest transition for him. It was difficult to initially grasp the way the civilian sector operated, which can be very different from the structure and discipline of the armed forces. Next, I asked the group, what do veterans look for in a civilian employer, and what attracted you to your first position following military service? An Army veteran at Quest said that he didn't want to be just a number. He wanted to feel like he mattered and be given opportunities to show his potential. A Marine Corps veteran said that he kept looking for a family-oriented company because in the military, you become family with those around you. Another Army veteran said he was looking for a strong foundation and family-type atmosphere. Finally, an Air Force veteran said that he chose his first civilian job because it offered a structured work environment and had a clear path for progression. It's very easy to see the parallels in their responses. Family, structure, and opportunity, all things that the military offers, and I think the veterans in the room would agree with that. Finally, I asked, what's one thing a civilian employer or institution can do to assist their veteran team members? One Army veteran said that it was lonely transitioning to a new organization where there weren't other veterans around to connect with. He thought having another veteran to relate to would help greatly. An Air Force veteran said that it's important to recognize the signs when a team member is struggling with their transition. He also commented that having veteran mentors for new team members might help reduce this challenge and make them feel welcomed and understood. So what are the takeaways from these discussions? How can we better help support our veterans when they transition from the uniformed service back into civilian life? At my company, Quest Group, we've initiated many of the following practices, which are good for all team members, but especially resonate with veterans. Personalize the hiring experience with a career page on your website, specifically for veterans. Develop a family-like atmosphere so that every member has a name and not a number. Offer veteran mentors during initial employment period. Provide a clearly defined organizational structure and frequent performance reviews and feedback on their performance. Offer clear opportunities for personal growth and paths for advancement. And finally, equip all team members, including veterans, with total human health training. It's important to meet veterans where they're at. If you're wondering how your organization can connect with prospective veteran team members, there are some great agencies out there to help that are doing great work. I can provide you with a list of organizations that our firm uses if you're interested. Again, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity this afternoon. On behalf of our veterans, thank you to the University of Findlay for all of the support that you provide to veteran students, alumni, and associates. This wall is amazing. This is fantastic. Awesome to see. I would ask that we celebrate the diversity of our teams to include our veterans every day. Our differences really do make us stronger. We're blessed to live in this great nation and should never take that for granted. Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you, Ryan, for joining us today. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Marcia Sloan Latta, Vice President of University Advancement here at University of Findlay. Dr. Latta is in her 10th year of service with UF. She provides leadership for fundraising, alumni relations, community outreach, the Mazza Museum, and the Together We Will campaign, which is the largest fundraising campaign in the university's 140-year history. Marcia is a strong believer in the value of philanthropy, education, and community involvement. Please help me welcome Dr. Marcia Sloan Latta.
Thank you so much. President Fell was unable to be with us today, but asked that I give you all her greetings and to thank you for your remarks and for being here. And she very much values, as many of you know, the fact that we are a veteran-friendly campus and have received multiple designations for that. I want to just share a little bit about how the wall happened and thank many of you who have supported it through the years as well or who have been here. Nicole referenced at the start of the program that it was the class of 1966 every year that for the 50th anniversary and the 40th anniversary, we ask them to choose a project. And A.R. Carnes, who was our chairman of the board at the time, and we were raising funds to build this magnificent facility that we're in today. And one day when he was on campus, he said, hey, I want to run a thought past you. And he said, you know, I was here on campus during the Vietnam War. And he said, some of us had friends, some of us had fellow students who went. Some of them didn't come back, some of them came back, changed. And he said, I've always thought we should have done something more for those who came to campus having served or for the ones before they left. And he said, in this new building that you're out raising funds for, it'd be kind of nice if there'd be a nice plaque or something. So I said, what a wonderful idea. Let's get some heads together. So the heads together is what ultimately came up with this. And it is an evergreen wall. Some of you I recognize here today who have come many years, and your names or those of your loved ones are on the wall. But some of you may not have known that it's evergreen. So we always want to mention this because if you know of someone who was a student at Findlay College or University of Findlay, or perhaps they are a student now, had prior service, or they're in the Guard now or something, at any time we are welcoming additional names. And so you could see Kelly Lavelle, our alumni director, or any of our staff. And then twice a year, we put those orders in with the hope that we get new names every year. So I wanted to mention that so that you are aware in case you know of someone. And we welcome that. And from the first year when we put it up, and I believe we had about 400 names, and now we have over 700. So you can see how it has grown. We also very much encourage, if you have the name of someone who you think would be a terrific person for us to feature, we welcome that. And I see we have Colonel Woodard here, and you were one of our very first speakers, and Dr. Mike Banke. And thank you very much for both of you for coming again. So I just wanted to share a little bit before we begin the reading of the names in terms of how this came about. And the role of it, oh dear, there go any of my additional remarks. So we'll make this, thank you. These things happen. So that we can keep this wonderful tradition going on. And I also do want to thank the class members of 1966, but there have been additional people who have continued to allow for the upkeep, for the flags, and to promote this wonderful event that we do each year. We are recording it. We will be sending it out. We hope that you will share it with others. So at this time, it concludes my remarks, and I think we have Mikayla to play taps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikayla. You may be seated. Thank you again for joining us today and sharing in this special honor as we honor those veterans. Here at University of Findlay, we work hard to ensure our mission to equip students for meaningful lives and productive careers is lived out daily. We witness this mission in action through our students, faculty, staff, alumni, board members, trustees, community support, and especially in the lives like those of Ryan Odendahl. Thank you again for joining us today, and thank you for everyone who participated in our program. The University of Findlay recognizes and is grateful for the sacrifices that our U.S. military personnel and their families make to maintain our nation's safety and to uphold our constitutional rights. It is an honor to recognize each of you today. Before we begin reading the honor roll, please welcome back Jack Yater to the podium to lead us in God Bless America. And I ask that you please stand.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. Through the mountains, to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Through the mountains, to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you so much. Please be seated. This concludes our formal ceremony. As mentioned earlier, we will conduct a reading of the Alumni Veterans Honor Roll in a moment. And we wish that you would stay with us. You may come and go as you please as well. Thank you very much. At this time, we will now begin a reading of the names. Benjamin Abraham, April Adams, Richard Albert, Connie Algie, Nicole Almond, Blake Amesquita, Jack Amons, Russell Amons, Ronald Amrine, Elwood Amsler, Robert Andressen, Howard Andrews, Amanda Appy, Charles Artizone, Paul Ambrett, Bradley Arnold, Stephen Airy, Dakota Artman, Nicholas Isiju Bofo, Ralph Ascom Jr., Ralph Ascom Sr., Richard Oxer, Donald Bodicher, Brett Bond, Dennis Baker, Michael Banky, Doran Barfield, Robert Barger, Katrina Barna, Curtis Barth, Jamie Bash, Walter Basil, Lester Baum, George Bear, Theodore Bayless, Ronald Beach, Thomas Beal Jr., Barry Beal, Jason Beckford.
Dwight Barry, Roy Belcher, Thomas Bell, Craig Benson, John Berg, Richard Berg, Joe Bibler, Nathan Bingham, Victor Binkley, Charles Bish, Richard Bishop, Alec Bishop, Chad Blair, John Blyde, John Bodie, Gordon Bolmer, Arthur Bookwalter, Logan Bosley, David Basile, Randall Bullion, Michael Boutwell, Don Bauer, David Bowling, Judith Boyle, Gloria Bracken, Timothy Bradford, Matthew Brand, Kenneth Brandt, Ralph Bressler, James Bryce Jr., Che Brindle, David Brooks, Jack Brown, Andrew Bryant, Francis Brazod, Lynn Buchanan, William Buck.
Timothy Buckland, Jacqueline Buxom, Matthew Bueller, Joseph Bowman, Jessica Bunch, Howard Bergen, Christopher Burke, Michael Burke, Bruce Burkett, Emily Burris, Arthur Burton, James Burton Jr., Aaron Butler, Stacy Caldwell, Graydon Callahan, Gina Campbell, Kathleen Cannon, Paul Capel, Raymond Carey, Robert Carl, Howard Carpenter, Robert Carpenter, Joseph Carroll, Sierra Carter, George Chapin, Logan Chapman, Kai Chang, Case Chilbert, Kenneth Chisholm, James Chrisman, Brett Christie, Scott Simonello, John Cindric Sr., Philip Cipriani Jr., Charles Clapper, Travis Clark, Robert Clark, Rachel Coberly, Joel Coughlin, Alfonso Cohill, Neil Cole, Irvin Cole Jr., Ralph Cole, Gerald Collins, William Conaway, Chelsea Concha, R. Brent Conley, Sandra Conley, Nolan Connell, Lucy Connolly, Ernest Cook, Jeffrey Cooper, Paul Corbin, Caitlin Correa, Justin Kramer, Larry Kramer, Richard Crawfus, Jean Crawford, Megan Cross, Richard Crowder, Jack Croy, Martin Cruz, Dorrance Cuba, Douglas Cuddy, Jamel Culbreth, Paul Kohler, Lynn Couples, Terry Couples, Lila DeBa, Peter Daub, John Davidson, Richard Davies, Jonathan Davis, Paula Davis, Paul Davis, Richard Deerdorf, Richard Delapina, Earl Long.
Derek DeLong, Frank Demuria, Karis DeWalt, Stephen Dickerson, Thomas Dietz, Kevin Dills, Neil Deshawn, Kenneth Dowling, Robert Drake, Kyle Dresbaugh, Homer Dunathan, Robert Dunbar, John Duncan, Jean DeRace, Joe Dye, Carl Dyer, Matthew Dyer, Ramon Dyer, Loring Ebersol, Reeve Ekman, Julia Edelbrock, Ralph Eddy, Heather Edmondson, Levi Edwards, Orville Eade, Emily Elser, Donald Ellswick, Albert Endrick, Amber Epsley Diaz, Thomas Erb, William Evans, Benjamin Evanbeck, Vicky Falgren, James Farrison, Thomas Farley, Charles Farling, Brian Farr, Anthony Federico, Edward Faitner, Brian Feldman, John Ferguson, Ave Maria Fields, Miller Fink, Stephen Finley, Rachel Finn, Garrett Firestein, Alec Fissel, Murray Fitzgerald, Thomas Fitzpatrick, Raymond Flanagan, Christopher Fleshman, Pauline Fleming, Wayne Flick, Jason Florence, Brian Flores, Carolyn Flores, Dwayne Folk, Bernard Fortna, Dennis Foster, Aaron Fox, Joshua Fox, Mark Fox, Lancelot Francione, Daniel Francione, Dominic Fredo, DeBoe Freed, Joshua Frisbee, Corey Fritsch, Joseph Freidinger, James Fry, Victor Fuentes, Robin Fawkes, Jenny Gaines, Megan Gardner, Roger Gardner, Harold Gardner, Shonda Gatlin, William Gieman.
James Gearing, Jessica Geiger Hayes, Merle Gebhardt, Robert Gebhardt, James Garrick, Eunice Gilbert, Dale Gillespie, Raquel Guienta, Lauren Glover, Fred Golke, Robert Gooding, Jeffrey Gores, Wayne Gosnell, Brett Graham, Cedric Granger, Leonard Graves, Fred Green, Chad Griffith, John Grimm, David Gross, Don Grubb, Alexander Gutierrez, Earl Guy, Derek Gorey, Kermit Hanley, Norman Hanley, Sheldon Hall, Cody Hancock, Kirsten Harder, James Harkey, William Harlan, William Harrell, Stephen Harris, James Hartman, Misty Hartnett, John Hassan, James Howe, Robert Housey, Jacob Hay, Jennifer Hayes, Shane Haynes, Edward Hazel, Linda Heckman, Conrad Hedrick, William Heistand, Paul Helms, Lance Henderson, Donald Henninger, George Henry, David Hensley, Russell Hepler, Scott Hepler, Alan Hepler, George Hess, Austin Hickel, William Hicks, Andrew Heister, Charles Hilborn, Hannah Hildebrand, Chad Hill, Erica Hill, James Hill, Richard Hillebrand, Richard Hills, David Hindle, James Hindle, Carl Hinton, Roy Hinton, Russell Hippensteel, Douglas Hodges, Joseph Hoffman, Logan Hoffman, Maurice Hoffman, Jack Holcomb, Rebecca Holstein, Dennis Holsinger.
Walter Homan, Della Hans, Michael Hoops, Wayne Hossafrost, Michael Hostler, John Hostler, Michael Householder, John Houston, Jeffrey Howard, Byron Howe, Frederick Howes, Michael Hironsey, Mark Hudson, Michaela Huffman, Mary Catherine Hughes, Barry Hull, Charles Hunter, Jamie Huntington, Edison Houston, Jeremy Jackson, Raymond Jacobs, Richard James, Jerry Jenkins, Brian Jennings, William Johannesson, Andrew Johnson, Junius Johnson, Eric Johnston, Joshua Jones, Clarence Jones, James Judd, Harry Canuck, William Caton, David Kay, Ryan Keck, Zachary Keaton, James Kefalonitis, Ted Kerr, Rhonda Karras, Eugene Keller, George Keller, Elvin Keller, Leland Keller, Nicole Kelly, Ronald Kelly, Joseph Kendall, Michael Kennard, James Kidd, Stephen Kimmy Hay, Martin Kiesla, James Klausing, Gordon Kleiner, Hugh Kleinhens, Emery Cleash, Larry Klingler, Philomena Klinsing, Zachary Klinsing, Sammy Koch, Stephen Korb, Richard Krause, Joshua Craze, Laverne Kramer, Laura Krager, Richard Krager, Thomas Krogman, Timothy Lafferty, Brian Lambert, William Lanning, Lawrence Lape, William Lape, Charles Lashinsky, Delbert Latta, Larry Lauger, William Layer, Dudley Lay, Daniel Leaks, Haley Leaks, Clifford Lee, Donald LaFavor, Michael Lemons.
Dennis Langle, Frank Leslie, Keith Lewis, Ronald Lewis, Frederick Lewis, Ned Linder, Aaron Little, David Long, Greg Longworth, George Love, Daryl Loveridge, Jeffrey Laxerman, Daniel Ludwig, Glenn Lusick, Robert Lundy, James Lund, Guy Lyon, Jonathan Mass, Richard Massig, Arlo Maines, Meryl Mallory, Wendell Marvin, Chad Marzek, Scott Mazel, Jacob Mauer, David Muggins, August Maza, Matthew McBrien, and Derek McCartney.
Kathleen McCarty, Laura McLean Belts, Britton McClintock, Emily McClure, Thomas McDonald, Virgil McDougall, Cassandra McDowell, John McDowell, Milo McDowell, David McHugh, David McGuire, Timothy McIntyre, Jack McMichael, Martin McMullen, Michael McPherson, Harold Meader, Donald Mears, Derek Meredith, Casey Messenger, Kyla Meyer, Douglas Michael, John Mickley, Irvin Miles, Brittany Miller, Isaiah Miller, David Miller Sr., James Miller, Merrill Mursky, Jacob Moaning, Wayne Moaning, Marvin Monroe, Charles Moore III, Christopher Moore, Jacqueline Moore, Kevin Moore, Joe Moorhead, John Mosier, John Moss, Walter Mueller, Anthony Munez, Amanda Munoz, Gabriel Munoz, Wayne Murray, Larry Musser, James Musson, Joseph Meyer, Abram Myers, Christopher Myers.
Stephen Nathanson, Aaron Nazario, Rachel Neff, Eugene Niederheiser, John Needley, Bennett Nelson, Kristen Newton, Douglas Nichols, Wayne Nichols, Max Nebel, Thomas Niedermeyer, James Niswander, Charles Nkurbu, Michael Noble, Jason Noonan, Terry Nordyke, Gary Norris, Sarah Novotny, Morris Now, Robert O'Brien, Deo O'Boy, Maru Okrispoma Calderon, Ryan Odendahl, Luke Olney, Justin Olson, Sean Oman, Robert Osman, Matthew Otto, Teresa Overman, Corey Overmeyer, Chas Pacholke, Miguel Padron, Stacy Palmer, John Park, Tom Parker, James Parks, Arthur Patterson, Aaron Pauley, Brielle Pierce, David Felfrey, Antonio Perez, Daniel Perry, Don Peterman, Christopher Peterson, John Peterson Sr., J. Dwayne Phillip, Wallace Phillips, Ellery Pippins, Stephanie Pitts, Curtis Pullman, Dean Pullman, Samuel Pontillo, Michael Poole, Vern Poor, Eugene Powell, George Powell, Arthur Poynton, Robert Pratt, Charles Presley, George Preston, Vernon Preston, Arnold Price, H. Ray Prickett, Kyle Pritz, Richard Pritz, Charles Purcell, Robert Purdy, Robert Quick, Donald Rader, Carl Rader, Richard Rader, Alexander Rado, Edward Railing, Brandon Ramsey, Dale Rock, Clinton Ravencraft, and Frederick Ravenscraft.
Elizabeth Ray, Aaron Ray, James Rayford Jr., Diego Rail, Stephen Rail, George Reamsnyder, Robert Redmond, James Redmond, Benjamin Reeder, Lee Rieg, Richard Reen, Elizabeth Reese, Larry Regal, Alexander Reiner, Rodney Ryder, Scott Renfro, Roger Rhodes, Robert Rice, Lucas Richard, Harry Richards, Adam Richmond, Max Ridge, Robert Ridge, John Riley, Carla Rist, Austin Roberts, Glenn Roberts, Franklin Radeball, Anthony Rodriguez, Crispel Rodriguez, Drew Rogers, Roger Romer, Ray Romero, James Romick, William Romstadt, Chris Roper, Lisa Rosen, Carlisle Rosser, and Paige Rosman.
Franklin Royer, Edna Rudolph, Charlotte Russell, Marvin Russell, Norman Russell, Charles Russell, John Russell, David Ryan, Brad Salisbury, Russell Sanders, Van Saul, Tommy Sawin, Maurice Sayer, Kevin Skasny, Michael Skasny, Richard Schaefer, Caitlin Schoit, Dustin Schlunk, Roy Schmunk, Gary Schneider, Joseph Schroeder, Jeffrey Schultz, Lawrence Scobie, George Scott, Sarah Scott, Stephen Seaholm, Herman Cersei Lunkett, Franklin Searfuss, Joshua Seedorf, Donald Schaefer, Stacy Sharp, Teresa Shatton, Cecil Shawley, Daniel Schaefer, Eric Scheidler, Gary Shirley, Wayne Shively, Raymond Shoemaker.
Haley Shook, Austin Shaw, Fremont Shaw, Nicholas Shunn, Todd Skaggs, Franklin Sleesman, Carl Sleesman, Merle Sleesman, Leanne Sleva, James Schloy, Tyler Schlosser, John Smilo, Antoinette Smith, Rodney Smith, Todd Smith, James Schneider, Edwin Schneider, George Schneider, John Schneider, Edwin Sorosin, Julio Sosa, Jericho Spleeman, James Spitzer, Sean Spratlin, Barry Sprink, Roger Staltzer, Shannon Standish, Kenneth Schaefer, Robert Steele, Bruce Stefalik.
Daniel Stellatel, Andrew Sterling, Jerry Stevenson, Kevin Stewart, John Stimmel, Matthew Stumbaugh, Kenneth Stutt, Carl Staff, Robert Strom, Richard Straight, Lee Stratton, Ross Strower, Caitlin Streaker, Chloe Stringham, Michael Strickle, Thomas Sudamak, Jeffrey Sullivan, Larry Surratt, Cletus Swigard, Ralph Switzer, Joseph Senpetri, Jerry Sizemorowitz, Christopher Tabor, Charles Tank, William Tatham, Jacqueline Taylor, Theodore Taylor, Timothy Taylor, Thomas Taylor, Daniel Teal, Robert Toma, Donald Thomas, Floyd Thomas, Robert Thomas, Cameron Thompson, James Thompson, Michael Ty, Alan Tobin, Harold Todd, Aaron Tong, Stefan Tonsberg, Robert Trask, Kristen Trotween, Howard Trostmiller, Allison Trutt, Thomas Trutt, Jonathan Tullis.
Glenn Tussing, George Tuttle, Mary Jo Urshelitz, Raymond Van Gunten, Richard Van Horn, Don Van Sant, Richard Van Scoit, Joel Velez, Luke Venus, Gregory Vilsack, Robert Vincent, Amber Vining, Jack Voller, Chad Vondren, Owen Wagner, Michael Wagner, Raymond Waldensack, Claude Waller, Edwin Ward, Gary Ward, Lindsay Warner, Jessica Warren, Susan Waters, Joshua Weber, David Wedding, LaDonna Weir, David Weissing, Joseph Welch, Wayne Welty, Darren Wenzel, Chad West, Charles West, Kenneth West, Ryan Westenbarger, Kay Weston, Howard Wilch, Ora Wilkins, Rochelle Wilkinson, Jeffrey Williams, Patrick Williams, Devin Willits, Bradley Wilson, Greg Wilson, Mark Wilson, Albendia Wimbush Sherrod, Charles Wynn, Wayne Wittenmeyer, David Wolgamuth, Richard Wolgamuth, Ronald Woolery, Travis Womer, James Woodward, Angela Woolbright, Leanne Woolley, Kenneth Woomer, Dominic Worthy, Augusta May Watt, Karis Wright, David Yates, Richard Yaki, William Yoder, Robert Yoder, Joseph Young, Preston Zachrich, James Zenglein, Derek Zanders, Donald Zisler, Deborah Zimmerman.
Thank you. This concludes our ceremony. I want to thank all the veterans that were here with us today, as well as all of our speakers. And I encourage you to pick up a program over here that lists all of the names on the wall that we read today, along with their military branch and the agenda as well from today's ceremony. Thank you, and have a good rest of the day.